Yeah, and now let's speak about the relationship Adolf Hitler with women in general. So, what about Hitler? Much has been written about Hitler's relationship with women. It is said that many idolized him almost like a pop star. This is always presented as sensational because, yeah, we don't expect it from a fanatical, obsessed leader, yeah, who was more, yeah, who is in our imagination more presented like a monster, like a non-human being whose the mind of Hitler seemed to be filled only with aggressive stuff, extremist idea, hatred, yeah, things that had nothing to do with the beauty of a woman. We have already reported that many of his employees spoke also negatively their about Hitler, like the boss. Yeah, but there were also others who spoke positively. We saw there are such and such in opinions there were, and we also know that there were also friends, there were also close friends who enjoyed the company of the Führer, and such friend, for example, was Winnie Fried Wagner. She was the director of the Festspielhaus. Yeah, she was the wife of the son of of Richard Wagner, the great composer Hitler admired. There are also theories that the anti-Semitism is from Richard Wagner was transferred to Hitler. Also, this is in there. We spoke about Richard Wagner in previous episodes quite extensively. Yeah, she managed the Festspielhaus. The it was like the stage Richard Wagner himself in the late 80s, in the late 80s, built with the help of the Bavarian king. That is right. And every year there's a great festival, opera festival, and so on. Hitler every year was there. Hitler was a great, yeah, fan from the opera world of Richard Wagner. Yeah, it was like a drug for Hitler. It was like he said that there are the deepest emotions a man can have can only be during you can they are represented with the music of Richard Wagner. That is like words of Adolf Hitler. Yeah, and Winifred Wagner was there, the director of these Festspiele. There were the opera, which was organized. It was a whole month of operas, playing operas in Bayreuth. And Hitler was there, the guest. He was Winifred Wagner's special guest. He also lived in her house for the time he attended these operas in Bayreuth. And also after the after World War II, every negative news about Hitler were known. He is the great he's guilty of the Holocaust, millions of people. But Winifred Wagner was loyal to him. She said that she admired Hitler and she knows him as the private Adolf Hitler. She said there is a political Adolf Hitler, okay, outside. You're blaming him. I know all the world is blaming him after World War II. But we have also the private Adolf Hitler. This is the guy I knew from close. And there is the theory also that they were in a relationship. We don't know exactly how deep this relationship was. After the war, Germany's most important Hitler biographer Joachim West also addressed this topic. He wrote a 1999 book, like a smaller book, about the role of women in the Third Reich. And West writes that there were people who said that who compared Hitler when they met him in person, like a personal encounter. They said that Hitler was a typical marriage swindler, we can say, like he acted like a marriage swindler. Yeah, and Fest also says that Hitler himself admitted that women played a not insignificant role in his political career. So there were the ones who discovered Hitler, who chose him, and who deliberately decided in his favor, something Hitler himself confirmed in many, many conversations also. And we know a lot of conversation because a lot of conversations Hitler had were also typed down. The famous Tischgespräche where conversation Hitler had were typed down and documented. Now the question I will I will make is, why did wealthy older women love Hitler? American psychiatrist Walter Langer. Yeah, we spoke a lot of Walter Langer. He had this OSS study of Hitler's psyche. And he wrote this in 1943. In 1943, during the war, Hitler was still alive, and Walter Langer was also of German origin. He knew a little bit more, and he had an interview of a lot of people who met Hitler in person. There were refugees who fled to America, mostly, or Canada. Yeah, and he reports that Countess Reventlow, even before the Munich newspaper in 1923 spoke of woman gone mad for Hitler. That was a newspaper saying Countess Reventlow already proclaimed Hitler as the coming Messiah. Countess Franziska zu Reventlow was an artist and scandalous writer. Her brother Ernst Reventlow, he lived until 1943, was a naval officer, writer, a journalist, and a German nationalist, later also a politician in Hitler's Nazi party. Hitler was surrounded by a lot of maternal, older female figures, also wealthy figures. I said, why wealthy older women loved Hitler? That's the question now. And these maternal figures, we can say, instinctively saw in the gloomy, very peculiar young man, and he was a peculiar young man. He would say he had a peculiar life, what in Vienna, like a homeless guy, then in World War One and so on. Yeah, and then rapidly going up like the leader. And they saw in him the peculiar young man, a dissatisfied human being in need of protection and care. An adolescent, like an adolescent, and requiring guidance. So the older woman, like there was a maternal instinct, like we have to help this guy. It seemed that wealthy, influential, and noble women from all over the world gathered to support him. Yeah, not all women, but some women. They were mostly confident, intelligent women, also women who were somehow different, who dared, who were unafraid, maybe like a little masculine type of woman. And that's interesting. The masculine types of women, that's my personal psychological interpretation, they are maybe interested in men who needs the protection. Yeah? And the other type, the helpless woman, she needs a guy who, yeah, the masculine guy who offers the protection for them. So we have here such this unafraid masculine type, like Ilse Hess. Ilse Hess was later the wife of Rudolf Hess. She was first Ilse Pröll. Later she became Ilse Hess when she married Rudolf Hess. Rudolf Hess was the Führerstellvertreter, the second man in the Reich, and also Hitler's yeah, we can also say Hitler's close friend, confidant. And she was associated also with courage and action, and also she admired Adolf Hitler. We have people like Carola alias Hermine Hoffmann. I will say more about her, the widow of a high-ranking civil servant and school principal. Or we had Elsa Bruckmann, the wife of a publisher and Hitler supporter Hugo Bruckmann. Then we have the Princess Cantacuzene, yeah, Elsa, no, Elsa Bruckmann. Elsa Bruckmann, she was the wife of the Hugo Bruckmann, but she was formerly Princess Cantacuzene. Now it's right, and she herself came from the highest ranks of European nobility. The Cantacuzene family himself is from aristocratic Romanian origin, and they are considered a direct descendants of the last direct descendants of the Byzantine Empire, so Greek origin. Almost in parallel, we must also mention the wife of the piano manufacturer Bechstein. Who don't know the piano Bechstein? They are sold until today. I also every day I'm going near to a music shop where I'm working. I pass and there you have a piano, a white piano with Bechstein written. So these pianos are really famous also in Austria, for example, today. These famous women all opened the gates of the so-called high society. They were like gate openers for Hitler. The philosopher Hannah Arendt spoke of the growing admiration of the good and wealthy classes for the underworld in the 19th century. The philosopher Hannah Arendt. She noted that this wealthy class gradually yielded to every moral question and began to favor anarchic cynicism. In simpler terms, an immortal lifestyle and the underworld became fashionable in this time. This also characterized the fin de siècle period at the end of the 19th century. It was an apocalyptic time, world-ending scenarios. Hannah Arendt, the philosopher, also wrote about the Eichmann process, pointed out the astonishing affinity between populist right-wing ideology and the ideology of bourgeois, bourgeois, not burgess, bourgeois society. You have to spell it like French. This kinship or new trend was already visible in the social salons of the 19th century, social salon conservative meetings. There were a salon and conservative people were meeting with very national people, with nationalistic thinking. After World War One, it became even stronger, particularly in the early 1920s in Munich salons. There were the salons where a wealthy conservative woman offered the home as a meeting and gathering place, and people exchange their nationalistic thinking. And we have such a famous salon from Dirks, and the so-called Dirksen salon, also in Germany. And these conservative salons, sympathized also with the Nazi movement. Yes, that is also right. This reminds me a little bit, this Hannah Arendt argumentation of the wealthy woman interested in the underworld, like of the classical scene we saw in every crimi, love behind bars. Stories in which wealthy women exchange love letters with convicted psychopathic murderers, and they are writing for years letters and in like they have a big love stories and waiting for the guy coming out. The love behind bars. That's it.